else when you have to ask.
No.
But
They cut a walk or anything on that, or they break the trailer?
they cut off, there were boots on all the axles, and the hitch was locked up.
They got the boots and the hitch. That's a lot of effort. That's a lot of effort.
Well, it definitely, it wasn't their first rodeo. They went in there with public power, cordless.
Would have been an angle grinder to cut all that off pretty quickly, just battery one, that sucks.
But we were able to pull up the lock pump. Anyway, yeah, with everything that we had planned on. So luckily that, I was pretty impressed with the congregation. We just scrambled.
Pretty good determination.
Yeah, made it happen.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, now we just gotta wait for like 14 days and we're gonna cut us a check or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was the same people that looked like the Walker Church. Walkers, they got hit too. Looked like the same people.
Oh.
That was Saturday night?
I think so, yeah.
Because Emily Bazinet goes to your church, and I picked up Miles, because I coached Miles in Pleasant Hill football. She was at church that morning, she seemed bummed after the game, but I didn't get a chance to talk to her.
Yeah.
She looked sad on her face.
Well, it was Sunday morning, yeah, it was Saturday night.
So Sunday morning, because we had a game, I think the game was at 10 on
They
Sunday.
think it was 11, no, I think the camera, through the cameras, they figured it was like 11 p.m.
Early for, you'd think 2 or 3 or 4, somewhere in that earlier stage.
Yeah, they just went in there.
So I try to always write it.
We should all catch them.
Oh, I think it's just a matter of time. And we, apparently we're slow learners because it's not the first time we've gotten hit in that parking lot.
And that was good fun.
They've gotten, every time we try
We
to
got
park
pretty easy
something.
access to get
Yeah.
to that stage. Scoop right in there, scoop
Right
right
out,
out.
right, and get on the back.
I can't believe that building over there got broken into through the wall. I mean, you hear about stuff like that on the movies. Which one's that? Over here at Tractor Supply, they broke into the pharmaceutical, that Peace Health. They got in through Tractor Supply, beat through the sheetrock and got in the pharmaceutical. Like, you see that on movies, like, what?
We're like digging
That
our
actually,
way out.
that actually worked. Like, you beat through the sheetrock, got you on the other side, and got a bunch of pharmaceutical stuff. I don't know what drugs it was, but I was. It's Creswell, you don't expect that. That's like a that's a full-on heist. Yeah, we got to empower the sheriffs to hammer down. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's, the fact that they got in, broke to the wall, got out.
That would take some time.
I would think so. I mean, like I said, with cutting the trailer cables and stuff, maybe they got some power tools, maybe the same people. Maybe somebody been staking it out, or yours might have been opportunity, but it seems like a lot of work to hack all that off. To get to the trailer, and it would take a half an hour, 45 minutes, to cut through unless they really had it planned out.
I doubt they probably didn't know size. They probably just after the
They're probably hoping construction tools or something, they can fence really quick.
Yeah, I looked over and I thought, sorry, how do I say this? That's what I thought. Three of them, right? Like,
So Stacy's online today.
yeah.
Hello, Londo.
Hey, how are you, Mayor?
Always excited for the second street project.
Hello, how are you? Good, how are you? Y'all better?
I am.
Good.
Yeah, I'm feeling much better than I was like a month ago at this point.
How they used it.
And of course Clark is in Chicago. I called him today, we had a nice short visit.
I don't know why people want
Is that where his dad?
Yeah, Dad won.
He's like,
Yep, he'll be there for a couple more weeks for sure. Because Dad passed away, so now they're gonna be moving Mom out here.
Several people.
They have to sell the condo. Oh, boy. So I told Clark, I'm not expecting you at tonight's meeting, or necessarily the next one.
From this place, I think it's called
He has such a temper.
But you subscribe, and they send you
His mother had a stroke,
plastic
and his father had been fighting cancer.
For a while, right? 'Cause it's been like, I think you said about a month or so ago.
You seal it up and you send it back.
And so he went back there,
Okay.
and then the father passed away
Recycle.
2 days later. He said to me, I was so glad I got,
Goes to
he said, oh, no, then his father went
Yeah,
into
some of it goes into.
Didn't he left after our last meeting? I thought he mentioned he was leaving right away to go with his family. And it must have happened like right after, at least he got there.
He said, I had 2 good days with my dad. I've really been with him when he was
Money
home.
back. There's some that's.
Silver linings,
His
I
mother's
guess.
getting better.
Goes, like you said, it goes to thrift stores or wherever.
How old was his father?
I don't know.
Stores, but I just don't like any of
I know, I talked to him before he left.
So I don't
We had a nice
shop.
conversation up front,
I
and
do
he,
it.
actually,
I
at
had
that time, he
a
said
couple
that
of people friends
his
that might.
mom's health was
So I give
more
her.
what he was focusing on than his
Kind of
dad.
surprised by that.
Yeah, yeah, so
These things should get a double whammy like that. I mean, I don't know if it's easier or harder, I'm not in that position, but either things should go at the same time and hope they're going the same place, then walking each other in, or, you know, or you've got one and then wait 10 years. I don't know. It seems like a lot to lose it all at once.
There was, there were people,
Hey, David.
let's send these
I'm gonna
clothing
get a
to
pen from somewhere.
Africa.
Right.
I think I have an extra in my bag.
system.
Mine did too, so you know, when I got here, I'm like, what is that? Yeah. This won't work at work with our internet, it won't come on, so I have to wait till we get here to do that the same thing.
Yeah.
It's working now.
I thought that I had done the system update earlier, so.
It seems like they do it every other day now.
Mine was giving me all kinds of problems, and it kept saying update, so I would do it. Then I turn it back on and it'd say,
Update again.
yeah, nothing would change, and I don't know, maybe it was another one, and I'd do it again, and I'd do it again. It was just, oh, I was already supposed to wait.
Are we waiting for someone to get here?
Can she
I
call?
tried to save a fillable form to a non-fillable PDF. It wouldn't let me do
First
it.
thing would be,
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna look at that as soon
And
as.
I did it, well, I did it last year. So I don't, it's not, well, it's not the form. It's really.
Yeah.
I told her to share right away, you know, that we would.
Of course, I didn't try it again after it did finally got done with its stubbornness, so maybe it'll do it now.
I really can't give her.
It's getting kind of old.
Yeah, well, I was thinking of it, right, this is like a 4-year-old
That meeting, that would be
tablet.
tablet.
Because I got it at the beginning of my term.
Oh, there you are.
They're a little older than that.
I think
Had
so.
them pre-COVID. 4 years.
Wow. I know we don't use them for much, but
Give us another
that's really old
30
for
seconds.
technology.
Jim, have you heard anything from Stacy?
Nothing yet. I know that she's trying to connect, but it just keeps timing out. I'm gonna have her call. You have a number to maybe reach her out to her? I might be able to dial her.
Yeah.
97% over there. I believe in the circus
We can just say.
Went fishing over the weekend. Caught my limit, I'm done salmon fishing for the year.
Where were you at?
Keys River.
Okay. Was it 2 here?
It's 2 or 3, because I got Chinook.
Okay.
Yeah, so my biggest one was like 29 pounds. It's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one is the second one.
Can you hear us?
I've made several trips this year. I've gotten 2, I got 3.
That's 3 for the year now, which it used to be like 2 a day.
I mean, you can still go fish the other rivers.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's where the confusion sets in, because each river is different.
We're working on getting.
Hello?
There we go.
All right, Counselor Holt, can you hear us?
I can, thank you.
Yay. Sorry for the technical difficulty.
Okay,
Oh, no,
Mayor.
that's okay.
Welcome to the Creswell City Council meeting, work session for September 23, 2024. Would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming tonight to our work session. One of our counselors is absent with us tonight due to the death of his father. Another one of our counselors is online due to illness, so we welcome Counselor Stacy Holt, who will be heard and can communicate with us, but not here present with us tonight in person. So I wanted to announce tonight to the council and to members of our Parks and Tree Board who might be here and all the citizens that the city applied for a grant through Pacific Power to put in a pollinator garden at Garden Lake Park. And we received word that we received the $5,000 grant we'd asked for. So I talked to Riley Newman today from our Parks Board and congratulated her. So we're very excited about that. Then this past summer, I attended the Oregon Mayor's Conference. And I always appreciate that the city, yes.
I think we have a gentleman here tonight to give us the money.
Oh, we do? Well, excuse me. Let's just stop right there and then. Come introduce yourself. Tell us your name.
Hi, everyone. My name is Scott, where's the camera? So I can, so it's behind me. All over.
You're fine.
So I'm Scott Salazar. I'm the Regional Business Manager for Pacific Power in this area. I know that doesn't mean a lot to folks here, but that just means I serve the community with really any ask you may have. So usually I get a call when there's a problem. But today I get to do something nice and present the city with $5,000. This is the real check, but this is a symbolic check for $5,000 for your pollinator garden on behalf of the Pacific Power Foundation. So
Michelle, you got your camera? Somebody take a picture?
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Thank you. I'm Dave.
Pleasure to meet you, Dave.
Thank you for coming down tonight.
Yep, my pleasure.
Okay.
And I believe Michelle was the primary person applying, correct?
It looks like
So it
it.
should be, would be great if you would hold a check. No check for you?
You guys are too handy.
Thank you very
My
much.
pleasure to do something.
Do we get to keep this?
I mean, if you keep it, I'll tell the company I lost it.
No, okay. Thank you very much. Finance Director.
Great.
There you go. Thank you very much for coming tonight. Okay, now, so every summer I go to the Oregon Mayor's Association Conference, and I recognize how fortunate I am to be able to go. As you also, as counselors, have opportunity to go to various training events during the course of the year, and then coming up in October, the League of Oregon Cities Conference in Bend. When I go to the conference, I try to take notes and bring back highlights. So tonight I just want to pass out to the counselors, and we're not going to go through these. This is just for your reading. There is one item that I highlighted in yellow because one of the sessions had a complete slideshow that I was able to get. And if you would like a copy of the slideshow, let me know and I will forward the slideshow to you. Okay? So Norma,
I get passed one down.
can you be sure and get one to our two counselors that are not here?
Absolutely, I'll put them in the box.
Thank you. Nope, you don't have one of these.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you already got one. You did get one.
I need one.
Okay.
Oh, they pass.
I passed it down.
All right. Okay. So, thanks to the city again for sending me to the conference. It's always a wonderful experience. Okay, we move on to our committee reports, administration and finance. Alonzo.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick reminder, October 1st is the deadline to hand in the city attorney evaluation, whether you do a hard copy or the electronic one. And then October 14th, we've got the upcoming executive session to evaluate the city attorney and our municipal judge. That's all I have, just a reminder.
Okay, Public Safety Committee. Nick,
We have nothing to report.
achieved all your goals for the
Achieved the
year.
goals on August 6th.
Great. Okay, Transportation and Public Works, Shelley.
We do have an update tonight. The Transportation and Public Works Committee was able to meet at the end of August because to complete the final part of their charge. And that was to look at the Safe Routes to School review, and in particular, look at the crosswalk at 8th and A. And so, as a quick reminder, one of the things that was decided, we looked at it, I think it was about 15 years ago. There was a decision, someone came to the council, I think it was the person who lived on the corner of 8th and A, and was very concerned about safety of school children crossing the road, which is right there. And it had to do with the way the pickups and drop-offs went and all of everything that happened there. And so what they saw was that kids would be kind of like scooting around cars that were in the process of moving, and they, I think appropriately, thought that was dangerous for kids. And so came to the city council and asked for the city council to remove that crosswalk. And so when we looked at the Safe Routes to School proposal, one of the things that we were tasked to do as the Transportation and Public Works Committee is to revisit that decision and to make a recommendation as to should we return this crosswalk essentially to its painted status, right, as a crosswalk. As a quick reminder, Oregon law is essentially every crosswalk that you could, it is a crosswalk, right? So if individuals can cross there, that's a crosswalk. It's a legal place to cross, whether it's painted or not, right? And so what we did is we really looked at kind of like what has changed between now and the time that decision was made, and what would we recommend, right? Knowing what we know now. The other piece of the Safe Routes to School was to actually move the crosswalk or the crosswalk markings that were at 9th and A, and see if we wanted to move that out, and then essentially like take off the markings on the street there. So as we talked about it, a couple of things that we realized had changed is that the pickup and drop-off way, like the flow that happens, has changed actually pretty dramatically in the last couple of years. And so the original concern that happened where kids were kind of edging out or edging around cars that were backed all the way up, that doesn't exist anymore because of how people come in and queue up within there. And so it was the recommendation of so Joel Higdon was here from the school, from Creswell Schools, Sarah Hansen, who is our transportation supervisor, and then also just so that you know who else was in the meeting. So it was myself, Councilor Holt, Councilor Kent, Manager Amberg, and then Cliff Ballou. And then Curtis Thomas, who is our planner. Essentially, what we had recommended is we should return that crosswalk because the dangers don't exist the way that they did before. And what we were also looking at that point in time is that we had just gotten the results of the traffic study that we all got an email about just recently, where it talked about the amount of people who are speeding. Specifically, we were talking about there, but there are other places in the city of Creswell. But the amount of people who were speeding, to have a crosswalk, to have something to indicate this should be a place that you slow down, that would only benefit us. We also had a recommendation that long-term, the Transportation and Public Works Committee should look at other ways to potentially slow down traffic, in particular right in front of Crest Lane Middle School. So looking at like a raised crosswalk, so it's kind of like a speed hump, that would be a way to help slow down traffic, to continue to repaint lines, right, things like that. I feel like I am missing some things. The other thing that we had talked about as to the recommendation to continue to repaint that line is that whether or not the line is painted there, people are using it as a crosswalk. And so if we have an indication, right, that people will be crossing here. Again, I think that reduces liability for us because we're giving an indication. And I think that then also gave Crest Lane Elementary School if there's a crosswalk there, that's all the, I guess, rationale that they needed to make sure that there was a crossing guard that got placed there as well. So, did I miss anything, or was I? Okay, great. So the other thing that we asked in our meeting for Manager Amberg to ask city staff to do was to, because of the timing of the year, is to go ahead and repaint those lines back on 8th and A. So you probably have already noticed them, or maybe you have noticed that they have been repainted. Because in order to paint them, it's got to be above a certain temperature for a certain amount of days. It can't rain, right? And with the beginning of the school year, we wanted to make sure that we were setting everyone up to recognize that was a crosswalk. The other recommendation was, in order to be able to, I guess, move it back into our city's inventory formally, is to look at updating our transportation system plan, our TSP, to specifically include 8th and A, right, which I think is a very simple addition to our TSP. So that is the recommendation that we had. So what I'm hoping we can do, and again, this is after discussion, is that at the October City Council meeting, is that we formally amend our TSP to include the 8th and A, and that future Transportation and Public Works Committees are charged with potentially looking at other places within the city of Creswell where we might want to slow some folks down. Yep.
Okay, so,
You hear everything?
so, the recommendation is that at the October regular meeting in 3 weeks, that we would update the TSP to reflect that particular intersection now has a crosswalk, which will be maintained going forward by the city. So the other recommendation is that future council committees would consider other places in town that need slowing mechanisms. But now that doesn't go into the TSP, or does it? That's just a recommendation that would probably be a good charge for next year. So I'm going to charge the council president and Manager Amber, because those discussions will be coming up in the next couple of months about committee charges come January that will be given by the new mayor. So make a note of that, okay? Does that cover it? Okay. Council, any questions about the report?
None for me.
You answered my question already. I was waiting to have a chance to ask it, but you already answered it, so. Great. Very thorough.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Manager Amber, can the TSP be updated in 3 weeks?
Yeah, our planner would be doing that, Curtis, and he's been working on it.
Okay. So, do we have any questions from the audience? I saw a hand go up. State your name, please, and then your question.
This is Cher Wolfman. So walking through this town for the years that I've been here, going to the school and volunteering. So I'm glad you've put a sidewalk in, or a crossing walk. Those should never have been removed. People do not stop in this town. You can be standing to cross the street and people will not stop. And that is a given. People will literally I've almost been taken out twice crossing from over there to go over to 76 in that area heading to the post office. People literally do not observe. Going down Main Street is a nightmare. It's not a joke. This is a very sad town. It's not good.
Okay, any other comments, questions from members of the audience about the report you heard? Okay, well, We know the charge that hopefully will be given next year in January by the incoming mayor. Look at other things that can be done in town to address speeding. Okay, thank you. Okay, Parks and Trees Advisory Board, Norma Jean.
Well, last month we didn't do that much that needs to be reported, and our next meeting is tomorrow, so we don't have anything to report this time.
Okay, so you'll have a report next month.
Yeah, I think that this, we're not sure, but I think this might be the last Park and Tree Advisory Committee meeting for the year. We usually take the fall and winter off. We'll see.
Okay. Airport Commission, Alonzo.
No report tonight, Mayor.
Okay. LCOG, I have no report on LCOG, so we go to Lane Commission on Transportation. Shelley.
And I always have an update about
You
Lane
do.
Act.
Lane Act.
So it's been a couple of months since we have had a work session, or I guess it's been 2 months since we've had a work session. So a couple of updates in terms of activities for Lane Act. So we actually did not meet in August, but that did not mean that we did not have forward progression on some things. So a couple of things for me, and I guess for other folks to know if it's helpful. I serve as the chair for Lane Act, which is the Lane Area Commission on Transportation. And so the Joint Commission on Transportation, or Joint Committee on Transportation, was doing a road show throughout the state to think about the 2025 funding package for transportation. And so in mid-July, they were in Eugene. And so myself and our vice chair were asked to go and represent Lane Act. And so forwarded a lot of thoughts of Lane Act to the commission. And so essentially we talked a lot about rural communities, making sure that funding comes to rural communities. We talked about making sure that as we're thinking about funding possibilities moving forward, that everyone who is using the roads is paying their fair share, right? So making sure that like electric vehicles are also taxed or also are help contributing to maintenance. We talked a lot about balancing, right? Like all of the things, right? Because, right, we also want to meet climate goals, right? So how do we do that in a way that makes sense? We talked about making sure that we have funding so that we can move forward with our maintenance of our roads. I guess I didn't want to dominate the meeting, but I certainly put my hand in the air as any chance that I had to go ahead and give some feedback and make sure that that both the city of Creswell, our rural communities, as well as Lane Act was represented. I can give you kind of Representative Nathanson's kind of thoughts and takeaways if you're interested, because I jotted those down. But for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and keep moving forward. I also spoke to the OTC, which is the Oregon Transportation Commission, in August. They had their monthly meeting, or their every 2 month meeting. They rotate it throughout the state. Since it was in Florence, which is in Lane County, we were asked to go and give an update on our work plan, just as well as just kind of what's happening with Lane Act. So Mayor Weiss and I were able to go to Florence and we were able to share kind of what's been happening with Lane Act. We also, in July, we went to, I think I shared some information about this earlier, we were able to go to so there's the Connect Oregon grants, which is about $47 million through ODOT that essentially helps provide funding for airports, trains, and boats, marine. I was like, what am I forgetting? And so we were able to meet with that super region to be able to kind of prioritize our committees, or we were able to prioritize the grant projects that we wanted to move forward. And so I think last time we met, I was able to talk a little bit about the Oak Ridge Airport, the Green Hill Transfer Station, as well as the Eugene Airport. And so having gone from the super region, I went to the statewide. And so we were able to get an update as to what is likely to be funded. It still needs to get approved by the OTC, and I believe they're meeting in October to make the final approval, but it looks likely that the Oak Ridge Airport is going to receive about $2 million in order to be able to do a complete rehab of their runway, which is desperately needed out in Oak Ridge. And it looks like the Green Hill Transfer Station is going to also get, again, about $2 million in order to be able to add an additional rail spur so that we can manage more services and goods that are coming into Lane County through rail. So that's exciting. I am hopeful that the OTC approves. It is not typical for them to reorder things or to move things around. So I'm hopeful that that's going to go ahead and get funded. And then that's what I have right now for Lane Act. We've been busy.
You are always busy with Lane Act. Thank you, Shelley, very much. Any questions, comments? Okay. All right, so we move on to our presentations. Our first presentation. So Jim, if Stacy has questions or comments, you're going to have to alert me, or Stacy's going to have to speak loud enough so I can hear. Okay?
All right, that's fair.
We have our first presentation from Ellen Mole with RAIN. Thank you, Ellen.
Hi, thank you. Will this be presenting on the screen? Jim? Yeah. Jim, will this be presenting on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Is your speaker on? I don't know. Can you not hear me? You need to speak closer.
All right.
Oh, I can just This is an additional testimonial from the organization in the community. Okay, is that better? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, perfect. All right, so thank you all for having me tonight. I'm giving our annual RAIN update, so Regional Accelerator and Innovation Network, that the city has been so grateful, there we go, has been so grateful to be a long-time funder of ours, and we hope to be able to continue that funding for many years. So this is an update with some fun things that we've been up to. So this presentation will include a little bit about RAIN, an overview of the fiscal year 2023 to 2024, what's working in Creswell for our entrepreneurs, and what types of businesses we're working with, including what's needed, what's next, and some testimonials from two people in the audience. So a little bit about RAIN. I think a lot of you are aware, some of you in the audience might not know what RAIN is though. So RAIN is a 501c3 nonprofit. We're funded by the city, the county, some other outside organizations for us to be here. We've been around since 2014, founded in Oregon. We are run by a team of entrepreneurs, and we are ecosystem builders. We essentially exist to reduce barriers to entrepreneurship for underrepresented populations and communities. We do this by working at the ground level. We're in the community, run by a team of entrepreneurs, myself included. I own a business here in Creswell, and I live here in Creswell. So the attached report you should all have, I know it was quite lengthy, and it has a lot of numbers in it. So my job today is to help you guys understand exactly what those numbers mean and explain some of the things that we've been up to. So in this report, it highlights a significant community outreach, entrepreneur support, and strategic collaborations in Creswell led by myself, known as the Venture Catalyst for South Lane County. Key events include our various workshops, meetups, markets I've attended, grand openings, fostered connections between local business leaders and entrepreneurs. This includes things like monthly workshops, meetups, one-on-one mentoring sessions, provided crucial resources for entrepreneurs covering topics like Excel for businesses, networking, navigating business struggles during tough times, creating a Kickstarter campaign, finding funding, marketing for small businesses, and sales strategies. Stakeholder resource partner meetings with the Creswell Chamber, Lane County, the Heritage Foundation locally, Travel Lane County, and the City of Creswell underscored ongoing efforts to support downtown businesses and explore Main Street development opportunities that I'm really excited about. These are some things that are working in Creswell. They would be networking, and workshops and mentoring. This is kind of the bulk of our activities. So rain networking events, we've hosted one at Duck Spawn / Toxic Burger. They're both kind of combined. We've done entrepreneur meetups there, as well as like a South Lane County Entrepreneur Meetup at Saginaw Vineyard, and last year's Holiday Business Social at the Creswell Grange. All three of these drew strong attendance by offering key resources and connections. Whenever we host a networking event, we're often asked when the next one is. And that's really exciting for us because it shows a need and it shows that that's what people are wanting. Additionally, with the workshops and mentoring, so workshops and one-on-one business mentoring in Creswell, like the entrepreneur coffee conversations we've been hosting, have been incredibly beneficial for local entrepreneurs. These sessions, both online and in person, offer supportive environments where participants can share challenges, gain insights, and receive tailored advice from experienced mentors. The coffee conversations foster a casual yet productive networking space, helping entrepreneurs build connections that lead to growth opportunities. Workshops cover vital topics like funding strategies and marketing, like I mentioned, providing hands-on learning that entrepreneurs can immediately apply to their ventures. I like those ones the best. These are some different types of businesses we are working with in the community. I don't want to list specific businesses because they come to us and they're in a confidential way. So I can list the types of businesses without listing their names. And if any of you want to talk further about their endeavors and what they're up to, I can without listing who they are exactly. But you can see that we have a range of different businesses we're working with. Could be anything from a new dyslexia tutor that just popped up in town, different crafters at the Grange Market. We have a fine jeweler in town. I don't know if a lot of you know that. A lot of real estate brokers, though. We do have a massage practice, an entrepreneur sitting in the audience tonight, actually. She'll be up here soon. Gym owner, and the list goes on. I've helped a food truck pop up in town, so there's a lot of different types of businesses Rain works with. Let's go on to what's needed. So through our ongoing discovery, we've also discovered some needs for our local entrepreneurs. These things include things like education and trainings around marketing, bookkeeping, financial support. Those all tend to be the top of the list. One-on-one support, I'm still getting calls and bookings in my emails for specific one-on-one needs. So I tend to meet people at the coffee shop at Blue Valley or virtually if people would rather do that. We also are hearing that evening networking events are needed. So things like the Creswell Holiday Social last year was actually our largest meetup to date. It had 26 people attend that. That was pretty awesome for Creswell. And then youth entrepreneurship. So I've been invited a few times recently to be a speaker for the entrepreneurship group at the high school, and that's been really fun. They're also needing support with marketing and networking. So I hope that we can kind of bring them into our entrepreneurial ecosystem. So I'm working on that. What's next? We have identified following future programming and that we'd like to continue and explore further. These things include the continued morning entrepreneur work sessions for social media and websites. We'll do this once a month. We'll also have continued entrepreneur meetup or workshop one time a month, and then educational workshops. So due to the highest engagement being at the hosted networking events and workshops, I plan to focus and continue my efforts in Creswell towards offering workshops, networking events, at least on a quarterly basis. These things take longer to plan and coordinate, so I think doing them at least on a quarterly basis would be great in addition to the 2 other sessions we do. And then continued partnership, of course, with the Chamber and other community partners, and then more engagement with the Creswell High School. Okay, here's one thing I did not include in the report that you guys have with all the numbers. This could be on next year's presentation, but I didn't really want to wait. So the Creswell Farmers Market Initiative. So this effort has come full circle. I would say almost full circle, pretty much full circle, as of July 2024. So after about 2 years of conversations with locals and the community partners around the past farmers market failing, I worked with the South Valley Farmers Market to encourage them to expand to Creswell. It was a long effort, but with with a lot of effort on both of our parts, they were able to actually expand into Creswell this past summer. So we had 3 markets at Hope Park. I see that as being a huge success. So by having a local market in town, we not only increase food accessibility here, but we create a space for our entrepreneurs to grow and expand in the community. So in July, like I said, they hosted 3 of the markets at Hope Park, and I was really excited to see this happen. So I hope that with continued funding, they might be able to continue this, maybe for a longer period of time. We'll see. And then last, I have a testimonial from a woman named Lindsay Hikes. She offered this she hoped to be here tonight, so she was going to let you guys know who she was, but she's a reading intervention specialist, and she specializes in dyslexia services for youth. So she says, ever since the first week of communicating my idea of a new business endeavor in Creswell, I was connected with Rain. I'll note here that Curtis connected her to me. I felt immediately seen and supported like never before, and this organization gives me the assurance that I will have someone there to help me, even in the smallest difficulties. Ellen, too, as Rain's representative, gives such a safe space for entrepreneurs to dream and share ideas of every size. I'm so thankful to be a part of a group that is giving dreamers the courage to do and the skills, collaboration to benefit the communities around what we have to offer. I'm recommending Rain and Ellen to fellow local business owners I know to continue the growth I see happening as we solidify ideas and problem solve everyday realities of business in a caring and effective community. Thank you, Rain, and everyone keeping this team on the road. Lindsay Hikes. So thank you all. At this time, though, I would like to bring up 2 community members to give testimonials on Rain's behalf. So I'll step away and we can welcome up Jim Gilroy from Banner Bank first.
Nice job.
Thank you.
It's been a while since I did this, actually. So I'm here, and I want to address this to our City of Creswell elected and appointed officials who make the city move. I stand here tonight as a citizen of South Lane County with a history that includes my 50-year residence in Cottage Grove and 13 years as an employee of Banner Bank with my current office in Creswell. My official position with Banner Bank is Community Business Development Officer. I want what each of you want. The desire for each person and family to realize their dream for a quality lifestyle supported by living wage jobs for all who can work. There are a number of factors that can make this possible. One goal that you have chosen to invest in is the economic development of Creswell. Oregon Rain is one of your assets. Banner Bank is a financial sponsor of Oregon Rain and has provided funding for several years because it just makes sense. S-E-N-S-E. And I want to say Creswell's success is our success, so that's why it makes sense. Rain has the mission and skill set that supports our mutual objective, which I've already commented on. I've worked with Rain Catalyst, Ellen Mole, for a couple of years. I've actually attended most of her meetings, events, and trainings. Several of those trainings have been and will continue to be hosted by our Banner Bank Creswell branch. What I've observed are many unique entrepreneurs in their infancy. Some with just an idea, some with a sought-after service or desirable product, some who seek specific business administrative skills, some who want to learn how to market through networking both online and face-to-face, all who are looking for a chance to grow. Oftentimes, other business support groups that tend to share their knowledge and experience. For example, Lane Small Business Development Center. Lane Workforce Partnership, and website development experts, just to name a few. In addition, under Ellen's direction, you've heard her tonight, South Valley Farmers Market has expanded into this community, and Creswell High School is proving to be fertile territory for young entrepreneurs. Pretty exciting, I think. So, real economic impact takes years, and oftentimes the strength and resiliency of a community's financial health come with the diversity and multiplication of the small business owner. I believe you have given it an important start through Oregon Rain. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next I'll have Lisa Olson with Lisa Olson Bodywork come up here to give a testimony.
Jim had some lovely prepared remarks, and I didn't write mine down. But being here in a small town and telling people things that they need to know, I almost think that that's sort of symbolic of part of why RAIN itself is so important here in our community. When I came here and I wanted to start up a small business, there was a lot that I didn't know about business, and I went and I even tried to access some of the resources at the county level, and quite a bit of it just didn't fit. It didn't work. But then when RAIN came into town, started putting on workshops and meetups, I started meeting other people that I was, able to network with and think, hey, that's the web designer who actually knows what's going on here. And other services as well. Some meeting other entrepreneurs who get the community, but also the workshops that were put on were the ones that actually gave me some of the information that I needed to make the best decisions. At one point, I wrote up a fantastic the writing of the business plan was great. I had an idea that all of my friends were very supportive of, and then when I got down to the bottom line, it would have been a colossal failure. So RAIN saved me from that. And then I was able to look at it and say, okay, how can I back this up and go towards something that's much more likely to be successful? So knowing that Creswell as a city has invested in that for the community, I think demonstrates a commitment to small and local business. These are the things that help keep our community unique and help us also be a little bit more independent and sustainable and not necessarily reliant on something very large and far away all the time. I mean, obviously we have to be part of the larger global economy, but what happens here is important as well. So I really appreciate all of that. And that's also where Creswell has really lucked out in having Ellen right here in Creswell. So she's serving all of South Lane County, but she lives here and she's on our planning commission. And if you notice, we're getting our farmers market taken off. Now we've got somebody who cares about our Main Street. So that's really special too. And I like that. And I wanted to let all of you know that I like that and that these services are important to me, and I believe that they are important to our whole community. Okay. Thank you.
Those were wonderful testimonies. Thank you both. I wanted to present just one more briefly. The one sitting in front of you is rather long. I will not take the time to read that right now, but I'll let you guys sit with that information. It is from the Creswell Chamber of Commerce. It was approved by their board, and so it was kind of a collaborative effort that they wrote this together. I will share one paragraph as I think it's meaningful. They say towards the bottom, the second to last paragraph, our partnership with RAIN is essential. RAIN enhances our efforts by offering targeted assistance and resources tailored to entrepreneurs and small business owners. Together, we create a synergistic relationship where the Creswell Chamber serves as the first point of contact, welcoming individuals and directing them to the invaluable support that RAIN provides. Our collaborative approach enables us to thrive together. I just wanted to end on that note. And thank you all again for your partnership. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer any.
Questions for Ellen?
Or things you'd like to see from RAIN, maybe.
I do have one, just a little question. On your little paragraph here, when you speak about the local, the community farmers market in the park, and it said that in the last 2 years, they had conversations and it failing.
Yeah.
And so this year, the 3 markets that happened at Holt Park, would you say that they were successful?
I would say they were successful, and I've talked to Tasia, the manager of that market. I talked to her after. I know that they were kind of let's see if this works and if it's needed, and that's a lot what Rain does too. Let's test the waters, see what's working, what's not. And she came back to me and said it's worth it for us. We just would like more funding. We need to find that funding because she was working like 60-hour weeks. So to do the market in both Cottage Grove and Creswell, it's a lot of time. I totally understand, and so I'm going to work with them to see if we can find other funding. But she said it was worth it, and I went up to 2 out of the 3 that I was able to make, and there were different vendors, local vendors from Creswell, had the opportunity to vend there, and there was a crowd, lots of kids. It was fun.
What do you think was the main? What was the thing that did so different for the last couple of years that weren't so successful?
I think this one was within walking distance of more like the developments were around it. Around Holt Park, we have a lot of people that live there, right? The previous farmers markets have been in a variety of different locations. I know one of them was at Tractor Supply. Yeah. I just don't think it was a walkable location. And we heard that from the different market vendors that I talked to when I did this research. They said we just didn't get foot traffic. And so we didn't want to sell there if we weren't getting anyone to come. And so they just dwindled down and down and down. And the other issue was actually not having long-term funding for the market manager. So to have someone volunteer their time week after week after week, it was just not sustainable. So South Valley Farmers Market, I think, is our way to keep them in the community and keep entrepreneurs there.
Thank you, Ellen.
You're welcome.
Good
Thank
job.
you. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
Really?
it's not a question. I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming in and sharing this information, and thank you to the folks that spoke with us tonight. I think that I always love the opportunity to learn more about what's going well, right, and what is happening within our community. And I think what really speaks to the heart of our community. And so I'm just so appreciative of the work that you do and the gifts that you bring and the energy that you bring to our community. So I look forward to hearing future updates about what's happening.
Awesome.
and just seeing the fruits of your labor.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll end with one last thing. Rain actually helped me start my business. So aside from being a venture catalyst, I got into Rain because I was a freelance graphic designer coming out of the pandemic from the University of Hawaii. I learned how to run a business through a mentor of mine. He was running a long-time graphic design business on Oahu. And when I kind of moved to Creswell, I didn't know anyone. I wasn't networking. I was kind of stuck in this hole after COVID. I found a flyer for Rain Catalyst at Blue Valley Bistro, and I was like, I should probably give them a call. I should do that. I should do that thing and go talk to people and maybe put my business out in the community. And then I drove by and found my storefront space. It was, the space right across from the library. I'm in the little design studio there. So I saw it. I went in and talked to the owner, Tom Ellis, next door, and he was like, it costs this much a month. I'm like, I think I can do it. It's a 6-month lease. And what do I have to lose? A little bit of money maybe, but it's been successful. I've been there 2 years now. Yeah.
Where does a person go? Where is the farmer's market advertised? Where do people go to find out about it?
About me or about the farmer's market?
About farmer's market, about Rain, about any of that. Where do people go?
Typically, our advertising is actually done on Facebook, and so we utilize all of the Facebook groups for South Lane County and Creswell. I live here, so I'm constantly on those pages, posting and sharing, and we have other entrepreneurs like Lisa and just other people that are also then sharing to their networks. So a lot of it actually is done on Facebook online, where the community is every day. We have some flyers we put up around town, like for the farmers market and things like that. But typically, people see the event on Facebook and they come to our meetups wherever we're at, or they get directed to our website. Someone might say, hey, you got to go reach out to Rain. they'll be directed to our website and they'll book a meeting with me. So that's where I get a lot of the one-on-ones. So, yeah.
I'd like to add to that, the city of Creswell and the Creswell Chamber both provide.
That is true too.
Yes, and that's where I get it, because I don't have Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook, that's true. And then when people do come to the meetups, they get added into our mailing list. So we use a mailing list, and I send out updates a couple times a month.
So Ellen, I read through this quite lengthy report here, month by month,
It was long.
and I was impressed. You are a connecting person. You just connect with gobs of people. And I read through, I thought, my stars, how do you do this and run your own business?
A lot of time management. I'm grateful with my own business, though, to be able to work wherever I am. So I don't just work in Creswell doing the venture catalyst work. I do work in Cottage Grove. I work a couple times a month in Veneta and in Florence. I'm on the road there. I do have help there from the RAIN team, so it is not just the Ellen show. I have a lot of help. But in Southland County, it is just me. So I'm the entrepreneur in community. I'm also the venture catalyst. I do run my business, but I can do that like before a meeting, after a meeting. I mean, I work whenever I can.
Well, I was very impressed and pleased to think that you've made this many connections here in our area with people who want to be successful in business.
Yeah, I really care about our community.
Thank you for your testimonies tonight, both of you, for coming and sharing.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
I'll leave the computer. I don't know what to do with it.
All right. Thank you, Ellen. Okay, we are going to move to presentation B, which is the South 2nd Street project, and I'm going to call Cliff up.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. I'm going to introduce Steve Ward, West Tech. He's our city engineer. We held an open house last month for the public to come take a look at this giant map and kind of give an overview of the project. Tonight, that's going to be your guys' ability to take a look at the project. Steve's going to be up here along with me, do Q&A, answer any questions you have. We got this giant map up here. Couldn't really get it up on the wall, so it's going to be kind of a come up, take a look. And then when council is done, I thought maybe we'd open up to the public.
Okay, so we're going to come up and look it over.
Well, I might talk about it first.
All right, Steve, welcome.
Good evening, I'm Steve Ward with West Tech Engineering, or principal of West Tech. This is 2nd Street from Oregon Avenue to F, and then it's D Street for a little less than a block and a half. And so it's a pretty significant project. It is a transportation project. It is a bike project, a pedestrian project. It is a traffic calming project. I mean, we've heard all of that stuff already this evening. So the idea is to improve the streets, improve the sidewalks, provide ADA compliant access. I mean, one of the things that we're required to do, the city's required to do, you can't come in here and improve the street without also improving ADA access. That is federal law. And so a big part of this is the traffic calming, the ADA access. Parking is also a big deal. The right-of-way is not super wide here, so we're trying to fit the street in and get the parking in, get as much parking in as possible and have minimal, if any, right-of-way takes. There are a number of folks out there who have fences that are within the right-of-way, and I've explained that to a few of them at the open house. Just because your fence is in the right-of-way, you can't have adverse possession against the city. So those fences will be moved back. They'll be moved back to the proper right-of-way. I'm sure we will have some folks who say, no, this is my property line, and so we'll have, I've done this before many times where we end up having the surveyor, and they may or may not hire a surveyor to say where the property line is. But I just want to warn you, you may hear that, hey, you're stealing my property. Well, the fence is maybe 2 feet inside the right-of-way or something like that, and you can't have adverse possession. So the Transit Authority uses 2nd. We're recommending to the city that we take the transit authority off when we're doing this project. One of the things we want to work with, and particularly with the bakery, we want to work on phasing. Sequencing of this project is going to be critical to the success. What we don't want to do is have a contractor come in and open up the whole street, and then these people at this end are the last ones to get their work done. We want to break it up in reasonable sections, and so we'll work with the bakery on that to minimize their impacts. There's going to be impacts, but we'll work with them to minimize their impacts, and we'll find a logical progression of work that we can tell the contractor, here's how you're going to attack this project sequentially, so that he just doesn't come in and tear up the whole street in one. Typically what we do is we say, you got this section and you have this many days to do it, and you can't move to the next section until you get this one substantially complete. That's a 10,000-foot level look. I'm happy to get into more details if anybody wants or any questions you might have, but that's kind of a 10,000-foot level look, unless you have additional questions you might want.
I think now we should take a little bit of time for the council to come over. Look, when Manager Amber and Alonzo and I talked about this a while back, I said, now we've got the map done. We just need to get it out there so the council can look, see what we've got going on, invite the public to come and take a look as well. So council, let's wander over, take a look.
You'll see from the map, the blue is pavement, the gold is sidewalk. We've got crosswalks defined, we've got ADA ramps defined, and then we're trying to show cars where all the cars can park, because we know the big issue is parking. And we have a few mistakes. We've got to fine tune some things. We found out at the work session that the bakery uses this area for vans to come in and load and unload, so that parking space can't exist. Here's the alley right here. And so this parking space can't exist.
So this is F Street here?
That's F and Oregon Avenue over here.
When you talk about doing it section by section, are you thinking of like a block at a time? Or
Something like that, but
something
I'll tell you what I've been
but not-
thinking.
yeah.
And I want to get input. I don't know if anybody's here from the bakery or not.
Yeah, I'm here from the bakery.
Okay. I think we need a work session for the bakery, but I'm actually thinking we should do D Street first and around to a corner. But I'd like to get some input on that, but we would do D Street first.
This is an updated map. They missed it. It was on the old one. We'll get it back on.
And so, and then we probably do this section next and then do this section last. But I want to get together with the bakery just on a one-on-one work session with city staff and just figure out what's in their best interest.
They have the same thing on top of their house as I do. I was like,
You spoke of traffic calming.
All around the side streets. Yeah, I mean,
These,
anytime we have 15 to 30 people.
there's a couple things you can see, like the road shifts over here.
See, first, we
These
have quite a few
traffic-
employees because we.
Hang on.
We have
If we're in,
Can we take one at a time?
yeah.
I'm just talking.
So we just need to have one at a time conversation with Steve to get questions answered. Alonzo, you had a question?
Yeah, you're just going over the traffic calming, because he spoke of traffic calming.
So this is a traffic calming measure. It's also safer for pedestrians, okay, where we put these bulb out so see how the cars are parked behind. And so traffic calming measures right here. The alignment shifts slightly right here. There's no traffic calming here. Parking only on one side because we don't have enough room. This project has to meet your transportation system plan, which it does. We've worked that through with staff and it meets your transportation system plan, so. But these are the kind of things, there are no, I'll call them speed bumps, but there's no raised crosswalks planned. There's no mid-block crosswalks planned.
Pardon?
So.
I'm going to in a minute.
is that something that can be added? I've got videos of people blowing that stop sign all day long. My daughter almost gets, like, we have to walk her to the neighbor's house.
We would need direction, but you could raise the entire intersection and slow people down. Now, there's pluses and minuses to that, because it's gonna make noise, okay? And it's kind of like stop signs. I have this thing about stop signs. People stop and then they gun and run away. And so there's trade-offs to all of this stuff. And so you could raise the whole platform, the whole intersection, and it would definitely slow traffic down. But then you're gonna have people who make a lot of noise when they go through it.
Especially in buses.
The buses won't like it, the fire department won't like it.
Right.
Okay, so we've got to balance all of that off, but those are measures we could do. That's certainly an alternative if we're given direction to do that.
How much easement is getting taken?
How much what?
How much easement are you guys taking? Like how much, is there an inch, 6 feet?
No, here's the right-of-way line right here.
Okay.
We're taking a little bit right here, just a little triangle right there for an easement for this sidewalk. Right here.
And behind,
There's no taking here.
okay.
So this right here is your easement line, so you're not
No.
fully
This
breaching
is,
that?
this is the easement line. That's the right-of-way line.
Okay.
Okay.
So there's
an
people in
easement.
this house too have big concerns?
Yeah, there's an easement line right here. It's a very small easement line. It's like, maybe, let's say 6 feet or something like that, a triangle 6 by 6. This is a little more, 8 by 8, something like that.
And then when will we see the actual markers so I know how much of my yard is being taken?
We will prepare well, first of all, we got a lot more design work to do.
Okay.
A lot more design work to do. It's not gonna be a taking, it's just gonna be an easement. So you'll still own the property. If you wanna dedicate it as right-of-way, that's an option that's available too.
Well, you mentioned the fence thing earlier. I understand my fence may be in the right of way and I'm going to lose frontage, but I'm curious because when Cliff came out, we talked, it didn't look like much, but he was very forthcoming with the fact that this is just an overlay. He doesn't know exactly where it's gonna go.
Yeah, this is showing where the right of way is, and this is indicating your fence. And I scaled it off, and I think it's about 2 feet.
Okay.
So you're saying that from where the fences are, you're coming into our property by 2 feet?
No, we're staying within the right-of-way. It's not your property. That's what I've been saying.
And will you guys, is it our, I mean, of course, I'm sure you could say whatever here, but is it our legal responsibility to provide a survey, or is it yours to provide us a survey that's
That
the
shows us
proof?
that the.
We'll provide a survey,
Okay.
but you don't have to accept that survey. So you could hire another surveyor to fact-check it and accept that survey or not. But we will provide a survey to show you where,
Okay.
and we already have all that information, so we will provide that to you.
Okay. And then with the parking, I've lived in front of the bakery almost 12 years, and it's been a nightmare. When I moved in, they weren't nearly as busy. The sign wasn't even the bakery, it was the Heidi Tennell Catering Company. I mean, yeah, right? They were closed, it was decent. We've had some issues with parking there over the years. I have a personal vehicle, a work vehicle, my girlfriend has a vehicle, and there's only gonna be 4 spots in front of my house.
We have a 16-year-old.
I got 2 teenage daughters, one that's becoming a teenager. They have a lot of customers. I can't even take my kids to school in the morning without losing my spot as it is, and they have 10 spots. I never thought I'd say that I'm gonna agree with the bakery on something, but I'm sure they're not happy about the parking thing.
No, we have 18 spots around the bakery. Cliff pointed out to me today that, yes, they're not all legal spots, but they've all been in use since 2008 in some form or another around that bakery. And we're going from 18 to 4. 4. I mean, I know you guys will say there's parking around the bakery, but.
But we can't
But
leave
No,
on
I'm-
Saturday.
Yeah, I'm parking in front of my
They're
house.
parking in front of
I
their
had-
house.
I
Other
had to
people
carry
can park in front of their house.
groceries
I can
from
park in front of their house.
Okay, I'm not here to argue that.
Well, we're not
The
arguing.
council,
We're
the council
pointing it out.
has to decide whether to improve this street or not.
Well, another thing I
Because
wanna-
if we're going to improve this street, we have to improve it to city standards, okay? And we have to meet ADA.
Why is the sidewalk so huge right here?
Sidewalk doesn't need to be that big, but we can't have parking right here where you have a car right here.
No, I got you.
No, that is a big problem. The biggest
Yeah.
thing that I see as an issue, again, I never thought I'd side with them. However, they have a lot of people that come in RVs, and we already have issues with them parking here, blocking that fire hydrant, which the police have done nothing about, and blocking this stop sign.
Well,
I
they park over here.
I
They
don't-
get to the point where they literally
Well, that's
park
what I'm saying. They
and
block the
block
intersection as it
sidewalk.
is.
Everything is just
I don't see how eliminating the ability for them to park anyway is going
Where are
to
you gonna put the
stop
RVs?
that from happening.
The RVs can park anywhere where you see these cars
Can I-
unless they're, but.
I don't know if you guys realize how many people come through the bakery. I mean,
On Saturday, there's 5
there's,
buses
we
there.
have, no, you've been told, but I mean, we have 400 to 500 customers a day
Right.
come through the bakery. We have 57 employees.
So the only way to continue to use,
And you're-
use the illegal parking spaces is to not improve the street. And that's an option. The no build is always an option, okay? And I think that's a value judgment that the city's gonna have to make. Do we want to improve the street or not? Because we can't build a street and not meet city standards.
Were there ever, can there be redraws? Because another concern that I have, I'm a roofing contractor. I have a trailer that like right now, it's in front of my house. Assuming that my truck is 24 feet long and I have a trailer, I will not be able to park in a driveway. If I take up spots here, I don't want to be called.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, where are like, these improvements were pitched to me like, oh, we're improving it for businesses downtown. And so it's like, well, this isn't gonna do anything good. The only thing this is gonna do is make it to where I don't have to walk in a puddle when I walk in down the street there. But we're not gonna have parking, they're not gonna have parking. I won't be able to conduct my business without my trailer. They won't be able to conduct theirs without, and it's like, I'm gonna lose frontage. I'm just curious how this could be designed different to accommodate all of the use cases on our road, because there's one business on our street, but like he said, they have so many customers. It just, short of them moving, I don't see how they're going to be able to operate, nor how I'm gonna be able to find a spot. We have their customers parking in our driveways now and blocking them. I don't see how that's not gonna happen anyway. It's gonna make things so much worse, in my opinion.
So we have parking on both sides.
They never park here.
I have to park down here.
No, I know,
for my
and
groceries.
I know you're not in
Stop.
control of
Please
what
stop.
they do.
Please stop. We are showing parking on both sides all the way through here. We're showing parking on one side here, we're showing parking on both sides here.
Okay.
And so there will be parking available for vehicles along here. Where there is not parking, and you can see we've got a lot of driveways, and I'm not sure this map shows them all. We've got a lot of driveways, we have to honor those driveways. The only way to add more parking is to do a major taking, add parking lots, eliminate driveways and stuff like that. And that decision was made a long time ago that we want to try to improve the street without doing major property takings. So those are options that are available. If we're directed, we can go through and look to see where we could do takings and where we can facilitate the parking.
Okay, I'm gonna take,
I'm gonna
You have
ask
this
Cliff a
part-
question. Hang on. I'm gonna ask Cliff a question. Cliff, you mentioned that some of the options for increasing parking.
So I mentioned some options for accommodating the loading. And I also think there's probably some options in here where we have sidewalks shown. I'm not so sure this needs to be here.
Right.
This is something we need to talk with Steve about in design. But I think there's some areas where we can add.
That's an approach,
Right, but you could make this come straight and get one more car right here.
But by law, doesn't the approach have to be wider than the driveway, and you're not allowed to park?
No.
Isn't that
It
the
would look,
case?
it would look just like these down here. And so we have also accommodated folks that have asked for driveways that don't have driveways now because they want off-street parking. So we have accommodated, especially these ones right here, for
I asked
actual driveways.
I have a driveway there,
So-
I have a driveway there, it was,
If you have a
as the
driveway,
ground,
it eliminates some parking. And so
I
we
drive
can't
over
fix
this.
everybody's issue.
We're honoring the existing driveways, but what Cliff is saying, we've added a couple of other driveways where there aren't existing driveways.
Right,
We've asked.
he's saying they've added one to mine that I've been trying to get for 12 years. I'm very thankful that it's happening.
and I drive here constantly to access this area here. So if there's not, if the driveway, an approachment is not put in here, I'm gonna be driving over your sidewalk.
We're showing a driveway here.
I know,
So-
but that's what
so
you're saying. So, can I say something?
Anything.
You have the bakery. People will tell you point blankly, they will not park in this parking lot, they will not park here because they do not want to walk that far to the bakery. So you can show
100%
all this
disagree.
parking, It's not something they ask, where are the delivery trucks gonna go?
So the option is, you cut the project off here, you cut the project off here, you don't do anything here. Then it all stays, I don't think that's the right solution, but that's an option. And we leave,
I think the concern that I as a neighbor have is right now, the bakery will have no customers in their parking lot, and their customers will park right in front of my house, right as soon as I pull out.
so,
I'm allowed to talk. It's very frustrating. It's not, they can't do anything about it, but I think their customers will just do whatever the hell they want. If you eliminate all this parking, it's just gonna create more congestion. It's going to make the issue worse.
They're gonna lose business, and that's not good
so
for our town.
one option is there's different ways to do this. There's a lot of cities that deal with this kind of stuff is, you can get a residential permit, you can say parking for residences only, okay, that'll help some of you, it doesn't help the bakery. We could talk about having, I don't think the city wants metered parking because they don't have a meter
Right.
maid here, okay, but you could do 30-minute parking, and I haven't even talked to the bakery about this, so I don't know what works. Do they need an hour, do they need 30 minutes, do they need 15 minutes, what do they need, right? Those are things that we want to talk about with the bakery is, how does your customer access and use this property, and what is appropriate? We've shown this parking, we weren't intending to take right away here, we've shown this parking, which actually is on bakery property, so that they can control what happens. The bakery can control those 4 spaces, we've shown it that way. We haven't talked to the bakery about that, maybe they don't want that. But we could sign this, we could sign it and say residential permit only, we could sign it and say 15-minute, we could sign it and say 30-minute, there's some options out there that are available.
We talked about that with the code enforcement officer years ago. I can't remember his name now, he's not here, and he had said we could potentially bring in permit parking only on residential side of the street. I know it's all commercial, so, but if we look around, there's 2 businesses, my wood shop and that bakery. So I get what we're doing here, but permit on our side, I know that doesn't benefit them in any way, but it makes my life a hell of a lot better than it is now. But I just see this being a nightmare.
So I'd like to hear from others who have come to the
This is
meeting.
Counselor Holt.
Oh, Counselor Holt, yes.
Yeah, I have a question about the easement that you're proposing to take. You made a comment that the property owners would still own that property, is that correct?
That's what he said.
They could either own it or they could dedicate it to the city, either option's appropriate.
So who is responsible for the maintenance of that easement going forward if they choose to keep their property?
I'm gonna say something, and Cliff will correct me if I'm wrong, the sidewalk maintenance is property owner responsibility?
That's correct.
So these easements are for sidewalks, they're not for streets. The city maintains the street from curb to curb, they maintain the storm drain, they maintain the other
Is this your
utilities.
easement right here
Hang
where you
on,
put
hang
in the
on,
trees in?
hang on. We need to let him finish, and he's interacting with our counselor. Go ahead, Steve.
Did that answer your
So if you
question?
could, I apologize. Unfortunately, this map didn't make it into my packet, and I can't see what you all are observing there. But is it correct then that there are sidewalks being put in that then the property owners would then have to maintain in the future?
Yes, there's lots of sidewalks, because the city doesn't maintain sidewalks in front of individual properties.
I understand that. I'm just looking for clarification. Thank you.
This line here.
That's the right of way. Now, just so everybody knows, this is an aerial map.
Yeah.
I got another map underneath it, but the aerial map has distortion. So, you know, you're not gonna get a perfect survey on an aerial map. I just wanna make sure I make that clear to everyone, because some of this stuff you can get distorted.
My neighbor asked why we were putting a 6-foot sidewalk in.
We're getting 11 foot.
Is 6-foot city standard?
In the commercial district, yeah.
So this is what, this is
And
All
this-
the golds are 6 foot. They're wider here. They don't,
It also depends on classification of
they
road,
come
and this
down
classification of
this
road
far
has
to-
6-foot sidewalk.
okay, it's the classification of the road.
Huh?
It's the classification of the road that requires a 6-foot sidewalk.
Okay.
Most
I
cities.
just asked.
Okay, now let me just say this. Most cities and most planners are gonna tell you they want a landscape strip because they don't want the pedestrians walking right next to the vehicles. And so we're cramming 10 pounds into a 5-pound can here,
Right.
folks. I mean, we really literally are. And so in some of these areas, we try to make the sidewalk wider with some street trees to make it safer for pedestrians. I mean, you gotta remember, this isn't just for the transit, this isn't just for cars, this isn't just for vehicles to drive to the bakery. We're accommodating pedestrians, we're somewhat accommodating bikes as well, and we're slowing traffic down and whatnot, so.
If they weren't 11 feet wide here, could we accommodate more diagonal parking down here than currently? And why are they 11 feet for an area that's, I understand it's zoned commercial, and maybe these are the plans in 50 years, but reality is right now, and these are residences.
So from D to A is zone, the downtown commercial zone, and it has a set of standards that call out these bulb outs and those sidewalks. If you look up Oregon, up and down Oregon Avenue, the new A Street that we did, they've all accommodated this standard that was adopted 10 or 12 years ago, 15 years ago.
But there's
as the
not,
downtown plan.
there isn't like maneuverability throughout there to try to make it work with, I mean,
there's some leeway, but that's the reason why it looks like that in this section.
gotcha.
Isn't there, aren't the properties gonna allow to be transferred one more time before they have to go commercial? So they could, in essence, this could say a residential zone. You know, all these houses around the bakery can be residential for a whole nother ownership life, correct?
That depends.
That
No.
depends?
That depends, because it's zoned commercial, whether or not you can get a bank to loan you money for it.
Well,
Most
split
banks,
zone, right? RMZ.
Yeah, I was residential commercial when I bought my property.
I'd have to look at the zoning, but we have run into situations where people have tried to sell a residence and the people purchasing it could not get a bank
residential loan.
loan.
So if that would
I
have
was
been the
told
case.
when I picked up my house that it was residential commercial. Then, when things started saying, no, it's just commercial, I was sent a bunch of paperwork. I was told our homes can always be sold as residential.
They can.
Once a business has gone in, it can't go back to residential.
They can be sold as residential. The question is whether or not the person buying it can get a loan. The person can bring cash. The person could take a loan out with you. There's a whole lot of other mechanisms.
No, we
but
did, we bought our homes. We've been selling.
Excuse me, but I'm going to tell you, it's going to be difficult for someone to get a commercial loan from a bank for a residential purpose in a commercial zone.
So would
And we are
the,
seeing that already.
would my property have been rezoned without my knowledge? Because when I bought it, it was split, residential / commercial. So I'm curious who would have rezoned it without speaking to me?
I need to look at the zoning map to see
Yeah.
what the zone is. But most downtown is downtown commercial. And as far as I know, it was zoned that way before I came.
The other thing you should be aware of is, and I'm not saying this would happen, but if the house has damage to a certain extent, you can't put a residence back there. So if there's a fire, if the roof gets blown off, and I don't know what the limitations are, but I just want everybody to understand, if there's a big catastrophe at this house, the city can't give you a permit to build a house back.
Right, if it's not completely down.
There's
So
some
that, you know,
percentage, yes.
Yeah, and that happened, out on A Street. There was a house there. There were 2 lots. That house got knocked down. Has
That
to be
corner
commercial
house,
now.
yeah.
There's another one on Front Street that just changed hands. They could not get a conventional bank loan because it's in a commercial area. It's in our downtown commercial area.
Question for you.
Yes, sir.
This is my place here.
Okay.
The sidewalk or the driveway that was put in, they said that they had to make it accessible for wheelchair.
Okay.
And so the angle of going up into this driveway, I tear off the front end of my car just about. So are all the driveways from all down through the streets are going to be like mine?
Well, I don't know what yours is exactly look like, but I will tell you that for ADA compliance, the sidewalks can only have less than a 2% cross slope. So we dropped this back of the sidewalk. The old days, we call them dustpans, okay? They look like a dustpan, and so it was about a 10% grade going up to your driveway. Now it's a 2% grade, it's 1.9, so we don't get 2%. 1.9% grade, and so we dropped the back of the sidewalk. We dropped the back of the sidewalk on all of these. That's why we're showing, we're gonna have to reconstruct driveways to a lot of these houses because we're dropping the sidewalk to be ADA compliant.
So then, is mine gonna get dropped?
No, right now, we're showing yours not to be touched.
Okay, so then the rest of these driveways are gonna have, it's gonna have a lower slope than mine is.
Well, I have to look at it. I can't answer that question. I'd have to
Come on over,
look
look
at
at
it.
it.
I'd have to look at it.
Because you can see the marks where people from the bakery, you know, your customers come in and turn around my driveway, and they just about tear off the front end of their car.
Right.
And so that's what I'm wondering, if, because they said when wheelchair accessible, we had a guy in a wheelchair try to go up this and flipped over backwards.
No,
because
it's
of
not,
such an angle.
it's not for this travel. it's
Oh, I
for this
know
travel.
that, I know that, but you still have people that want to use that driveway, so I'm just
Well,
wondering.
we will make sure this is ADA compliant for travel this direction, north-south travel.
How wide does it have to be for wheelchair accessibility? Because I've got a telephone pole here, and it's 3 feet to the curb.
We like 4 feet. I think it's like 42 inches or something like that for wheelchair accessibility.
Okay, so that's why this is here, where you're going to move my fence back?
We'll move the fence back, yes. That's the plan.
Okay, because I forget who I talked to, was going to come out and look, because I've got a pond right here.
Yeah.
And so that, if they move it back, it's going to come right inside that pond.
So the pond is in the right of way?
I don't know if it's in the right of way or not.
Okay. We'll find out.
So are you guys, when you come into our places and you say you have to move things, okay, we've got our yards landscaped, we've got this done. You're gonna be removing the fence. Are you going to put up a safety fence in front of our properties to keep our place safe?
Safe from what?
Welcome to the city of Creswell.
I don't know what that means.
People walked in on your property.
Okay.
I mean, we have dogs, I put my dogs in my front yard, it'd be nice if we had a
So-
temporary barrier
Yeah.
or something.
We all, a lot of us have dogs.
So I will tell you, we've done a lot of this. We work individually, you know, particularly if you got dogs, you know, we find a way. We either come in there and put the new fence up right away, leave the old fence up, put the new fence in its proper location so the dogs can't get out, okay? We can put up what we call snow fences, but that's not, there's gonna be driveways. I mean, it doesn't do you a lot of good to put a fence from here to here when people can walk here or they can walk here. But we can, you know, that's a decision the city will have to make.
We want our places to be, okay. Next question. You're gonna take out all of our landscaping. Are you guys going to replace that?
No, because it's, yes, with sidewalk. Yes, with sidewalk.
No.
She's talking in her yard.
Our yard.
He's saying that that's
Our
not your
yards.
property, landscape city property, that's what he's getting at.
You can't
I
have
wanna
it-
know I wanna know how far you think you're coming in, because by all the measurements you put here, you're going to be only coming in from where that fence is, you're gonna be coming right on the other side of the concrete that was, mow strip that was placed. And you have a 22-foot thing. So what are you saying you're taking?
Well, we've got to finish the design. Typically, what we'll do is we will build cross-sections so that we can see whether there's an impact or not, okay? Then we'll decide whether we're going to build a wall. Let's say the street is going to be higher or lower than your grade. We can come in and we can build a 1-foot wall, or we can build a 1-foot wall and have the sidewalk here. There's all sorts of design alternatives to minimize impacts on the properties. Or we can come talk to you and say, can we get a temporary slope easement and fill on this property, and then we'll restore it. I mean, we just haven't got that far in the design. I mean, the first thing we have to do before we can take the next step is get the city to approve this concept. Then we can go to the next level of design.
When are you planning on any dates set at all? Or, I'm just wondering if somebody will come out and take a look at all this right
Yeah,
here.
well, yeah, there's no date set for that.
Okay.
We're still next spring, summerish before.
But even before that, you would come out and take a
We'll
look
come out
at
and
this?
take a look.
Take a look,
Okay,
absolutely.
would I be able to be notified so I can be there?
Flynn?
Yep.
Okay, that's a yes.
wish we could find a way
You have
for
a
them.
name and
That was
Yeah.
37 feet from the outside of the curb to the back of the sidewalk.
You got a phone?
Yeah, 541 895
With all due respect.
Well, we measure from
You
that
generate
curve
You want
to
the
the other
address
side,
of the place?
back
Yeah.
to the
It's
south
290
sidewalk.
south side.
And we do understand that, we also look
Yeah,
here.
you're looking at the.
That's the way you are.
I spoke to your old manager a lot, I always made the suggestion and it never gets done. I think.
I don't have a dimensional
Okay, so we're gonna have all the members of the public to step back and have your seat.
Why would you do that? I've been a good neighbor, you guys know the concept.
I didn't understand what you said.
Excuse me.
No, I was saying, down to here.
Excuse me.
Just a sign that's in our restaurant.
We'd like members of the public to take their seats so that the council can come up and take a look like to have the council take a look
That'd be great.
and ask questions.
Yeah, no, I didn't understand what they were saying.
I was like, I'm just live there.
So again,
Okay.
this design conforms to city adopted standards. You guys have the right to change those standards. We don't have the right, Cliff doesn't have the right, but, you know, it basically conforms to city standards. And like Cliff said, that was a dozen years ago, those standards were adopted. I don't know that anybody anticipated that there'd be impact on properties. I'm not sure those if you change those standards, I'm not sure it's gonna change the parking problem. Because there just is not sufficient right-of-way to have two travel lanes. I mean, you look at this car right here. He's halfway into the travel lane. Okay, and so you know, I mean, and when this street is only used for the bakery, that, maybe you get away with that. But as more and more commercial businesses come along, you're going to be dealing with traffic. You've got the transit authority using this area. I mean, there's going to be more and more
Excuse
traffic.
me,
I have a little bit
we need to have some time, so if
with
you
these, and you guys
sit down or
can
step outside,
help me out here,
that'd be
but
appreciated.
when people come up to the stop of that stop sign with these bumped out so far in the cars, it's really hard to see if
Oh, I know it is.
anybody's coming. Is there any way to alleviate that? I mean,
I hate the big bump outs myself.
And again, this is a pedestrian safety issue, which is,
That is a four-way stop.
yeah,
yeah, so the four-way, is this a four-way stop also?
no.
So you're right. I mean, you come along, but these are the stops here, right? This is not a stop.
Right.
But you try and take a right, or, you know, you're taking a left from where your finger was at, it's hard to see.
Well, you park, you're stopped here, you can't see through the cars.
Yeah.
You've got to sneak out.
Yep.
You're gonna have to sneak out, and I'm not sure eliminating the bulb solves that problem.
Okay.
What it does do is you move the stop a little bit further out, but I mean, we see this all the time where people have to stop here, make sure there's no peds, and then sneak out. It's just,
Correct me if I'm wrong, now, these, the way they pop out there, is this not part of the traffic calming
yes,
design?
that's to
which-
slow the
which-
traffic down.
Which we have been hearing for years, that people need to slow down.
Right.
Down this street.
Right.
And that it's not safe to cross.
It does two things. It narrows us down so folks feel like they need to slow down
Yes,
because there's
just like
obstacles in the way. It also narrows up the crosswalks. It makes it safer for
Yes.
pedestrians to get across.
We have that already on Oregon Avenue in several locations.
Yes, I think it's a great
So we
idea.
already are.
We still creep out there.
I think it works.
yes, I'm sure you do.
Yeah. So can I make a comment, because I'd like Cliff to kind of answer it, and I'm gonna say it out loud, devil's advocate. If we don't do nothing, we need other suggestions, right? I mean, the street falls apart, so homeowners, if we, you know, stood behind you, business owners, and we just didn't do anything, the alternative is that the road is gonna deteriorate into nothing,
It already is.
which, yeah, it is bad, but I wanna throw something out there that we haven't really talked about. What if we don't do anything?
Well, let me tell you, you can't overlay the existing road and just overlay it.
Yeah, so it's just gonna turn to dust. or
It'll
gravel.
it'll turn to dust, because if you overlay this road to increase
On the
the,
foundation.
yeah, you have to do ADA per what's called ProAg, you have to do ADA. You can come in and chip seal the road and not do these intersections, so you gotta be really careful. I mean, we're super careful in all of our cities, because once we overlay a road, and these right now, each corner is $10,000 to $15,000. So a lot of cities are, you know, I mean, this is a $50,000 bill right here just for ADA compliance. And that doesn't deal with the overlay and the striping and other things like that. So So you gotta be real careful. We can't come in here and overlay the road and increase the life of that road because we're gonna
We're
trigger.
just throwing money down the trash, so it's just gonna
Yeah.
keep.
So what he's saying is if you come in here and you do any sort of work that actually
They're trying to
tears
improve
it
it.
out and bases it up and puts a new road in, it triggers ADA.
And that's federal law. We don't have a choice.
Well, that's what I wanna bring up, is have that conversation. I'm for the people. If that was my house, my business, I'm kinda with you guys on that. I need a place to park. But the other option is if we don't do anything at all, it does turn to gravel, and then you guys are gonna still be in the same boat. So I'd like to bring that up for discussion as well.
Michelle?
I'm one of the people.
Michelle's.
And I have a
Second
right to
Street.
have a voice.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna tell you, in front of my house, there's only half a street. And I already have a major dust problem because the bus comes by and it's in the dirt every time
Where's that at?
on that corner. And
I'm not familiar with the bus route, so. I know
The
I
bus
pay for-
route-
I know I pay for it in my paychecks, but.
comes out here and it goes down that street and turns down there. That is not even wide enough as it is
No,
right
it's
now
pretty
where
tight to
the,
Drive a vehicle down.
well, where the pavement is, you can't turn onto Second Street when the bus is turning off of it. There isn't enough pavement there. That is already failing all the time in front of my house.
The bus doesn't help it,
Yeah.
the heavy loads.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, were you done?
I am. I gotta piggyback on the bus, but you go ahead.
I live way down here. I walk past all your houses about every day. And I've lived there a long time. And the street, you know, little things have been done, but we're beyond any little
We're
fixes.
beyond little things, yeah.
And what I see as I walk there is sidewalk intermittent, a lot of gravel, a lot of potholes. I passed out in front of your house in the red shirt a few years ago on a walk, didn't realize that my heart had given out. And I lay in the street in front of the bakery, and I was thankful when I woke up that I hadn't got run over. Because I was on the gravel strip, and I had to have a pacemaker put in. But as I've walked that street for now 40 years, down and back, it's not safe for walkers, it's not safe for riders, it's not safe for cars. And we've known for a long time it needs to be done. You know, if we can do things to add more parking, I'm all for that, but the option of doing nothing, for me, is a bad idea.
I just want to also bring your attention to that group of housing down there. This is elderly and disabled housing. And there are many people in wheelchairs who cannot get past this intersection. They have fallen over in their wheelchairs and had to be helped up. It's a very dangerous intersection for them, so they can't even get to a store to buy food. And they have kitchens, I mean, they need to be able to get to the grocery store. So we also need to address the issue of the fact there's no sidewalk on this side, there's no ADA access right here.
Basically?
No.
The sidewalk, it looks like we don't have one here.
There's no sidewalk right there.
And then,
Well, from here, there's current sidewalk.
Yeah, but it kinda stops right here.
It stops right here.
I'm pretty sure
I bet
there
it would stop right
is.
there, right?
Remember
No,
this
it
area
does
was
stop
all,
here.
you can go there
It does come
We'll
to-
double
any
check that.
time of day, and there'll be people
Check stop.
outside in
I've walked
wheelchairs.
it.
I
We'll
walked
double
it,
check.
so
Can we
we'll
reroute
make-
buses?
We'll make sure that.
I asked
we'll make
that
sure
question, I
I mean,
asked
how
that
hard is it
question.
to reroute a bus
The
that gets
bus-
subsidized by us anyway?
The bus serves the Section 8 housing right here.
Okay.
That would be a mistake.
So this will
So,
have
no.
sidewalk.
No,
This will, excuse me, this is our opportunity, please. So this will have sidewalk all the way down
Yes,
on one side and on the other side?
yes.
This is already here.
If we've got some gaps, we need to fill those gaps.
Is there gonna be any kind of bike lane?
No.
So people who are on bicycles still are gonna be riding in the
We
road?
can put what we call sharrows. Do you know what a sharrow is?
No.
Bikes and the cars share the travel lane.
This is a 50-foot right-of-way up here, and to have any sort of parking, we don't have room for a bike
For a
lane.
bike lane. So there'll be sidewalks,
So if you
no
go,
parking, but no bike lane.
I'm sure Eugene has sharrows, and they're
Yeah,
basically, they got a bunch of them, they're basically triangles, and they're basically telling the public, the drivers, They're sharing the roads with bicycles, and we should do that here, honestly, we should do that here.
I think they're green arrows, and they show,
They call them Sherrills, I don't know who came up with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we have children here, and now we have this new park down here with a splash pad. And so,
There's a lot of reasons to have a lot of pedestrians.
there's a lot of
up and down.
reasons to have a lot of folks using that road.
The other thing to keep in mind is, I think 10th Street is the next one on the list. The next one is D Street, and that's to help kids get to school. So this one connecting to D Street is an important part of that plan as well.
Shelley, other counselors who haven't said anything.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna ask the question, because we talked about so there is an option to do nothing, right? And so I wanted to know from Cliff, kind of like, what are all the issues that need to be addressed on Second Street? Like
Wait.
30,000 foot view, right? I mean, I guess in terms of the infrastructure of the street itself.
The street's a piece of crap and needs to be fixed, okay?
That's pretty much
The issue is always parking. We can solve every other issue out here. It's the parking that we get beat up on every time we meet with people. So, but the street's a piece of crap.
The road is failing, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And to be able to do a reconstruct on the road, it has to meet standards, ADA being one of them. And when they get triggered, then you start looking at designs like this.
Yeah. How much usable life left do we think that we have in the road?
On that road, it's zero.
That's zero.
It's past its usable life.
Yeah.
So it's a failed road.
It's a failure.
I just want to say that I think that's something that I'm pretty sure we can all agree on, that the road is done. It needs to be fixed. It needs to be replaced. I've heard that since I moved to Creswell, that Second Street is toast. And we're so close to getting there. So,
I think there's a couple things we can do. We can fix, the bakery has an issue with the loading ramp. That's easy. I think we can relook at some of these, because these aren't necessarily design standards. Those are just kind of fill in to make things work. I think there's something we can do there. I think we can work with Steve and Westech on maybe some recommendations for timing of parking, for signage.
You might be able to open up one spot, maybe two right there.
Something like that. We might be able to get 2 or 3 more spots. But there's not a whole lot you can do. It's not like you can put, diagonal parking on the whole block. There's just not room.
But, this is failed. This area has all failed, and we need, the solution is not going to be easy.
so if these were timed, we have 8, and maybe even some of these would allow them parking? If there was 8, say 9, 10,
I don't
12,
think we would
13,
time these because
No?
these are on the residential side.
So it would just be here,
These would be timed. We could look at these right here.
and these.
Yep.
So you would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, potentially 11.
Maybe 12 or 13.
Okay. And is the gentleman here from, how many did you say you had?
18.
18? Well, I mean, that would be, what did you say, maybe 12?
Yeah.
But
12.
that's assuming nobody's parking on the street from any of the residences.
I just.
Well, that would be timed.
But there'd be residence permits for time, right? They'd have to
No,
fill out residence permits for their houses.
Well, timed is timed. And if there's a time limit, that's it.
But not in
So
front of the
again-
residents.
Not in front of the
Not in front of the
residents.
residents.
Well, these, and is this where these residents park right now? There's no resident.
Nobody parks here because it's a ditch.
Yeah, and there's no
This is
resident,
basically a ditch.
and there's no resident here, right?
But we know already from meetings that the bakery traffic infiltrates into the neighborhood.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and they're gonna,
We can come
people
up with
who
some kind of sign.
can't find a parking spot, they're not gonna drive around the block, they're gonna infiltrate the neighborhood, they're gonna park.
We don't, yeah,
We know that.
I don't know about a discount, but we can.
There's 18 now, you've got 7 here.
Communicate to them.
Norma,
We only have
Norma,
6.
Norma, we need to keep conversation,
We only have 6, because this one's
Yes,
going
because
away.
that was going away.
so 3,
9, 10, 11, maybe 12.
If you could squeeze in.
and then you've got 3 here.
And maybe some here.
Maybe some there.
But we've also heard that house has a bunch of kids living in it with a bunch of cars.
And they're gonna be parking
They're
here.
gonna be parking there and here. We've
And
heard
they
that.
do have a dedicated
They do have a
driveway.
dedicated driveway.
But they overflow that
This
all
house has
the
got
time.
5 kids in that one too.
They both have kids in it?
Yeah, the one on the corner's got 5 kids.
Yeah, so that's a problem.
It's a narrow street to begin with.
Yes, it is.
We can't even get a bike lane in,
No.
so.
I mean, we'd love to have a 60-foot wide right-of-way, get parking on both sides, maybe get some angled parking in some other spots, but there's just not real estate to do that without major land taking, which is going to double or triple the cost of this project.
So Steve, you said you and Cliff were gonna have a one-on-one with the bakery and do some
That's
more
where I want to start
conversation.
next, because parking for them impacts the entire neighborhood. Okay, so the more we can resolve their parking, the more we help the rest of the neighborhood. And I want to make sure we provide this access. We didn't know this was a loading dock. It's not really a loading dock, it's just a place where they pull a van in.
Can it be shared with one, say, customer parking spot? And
No, because I think they bring.
And that has parking,
They're paying delivery
parking,
van parking in there, I believe.
I mean, that could be improved as they refit.
Well, I would say you guys are on the right track, you need to talk with.
Perhaps.
Make that the bakery, you guys try to work.
That's the next step.
Push that out right down the street.
That's where
And
we're
this
at. We know there's a couple changes that need made, a few things cleaned up. But
No.
it wasn't
No,
just
we don't
thrown
want that.
together, there was a lot of forethought put into
Oh,
it.
we see that, we see that.
I've seen
yeah.
different iterations, and so when Michelle said it was done, I said, we need to now look at it. Okay, Shelley?
So I guess my next question is, can you talk a little bit about a timeline for this? Like, when would construction potentially start?
Norma,
Yes.
if you want to visit, you need to go out in the hallway, or else you need to join us.
Well.
You're welcome to go out in the hallway
The
and
earliest
visit.
this will go out to bid is the spring of '25. There's a good possibility this is gonna get pushed off a year if we can't overcome some of these issues. So there's still a lot of work to be done. So the earliest would be the spring of '25. This is probably a 6-month construction project, only because we're gonna make them do section by section. You know, I'm just gonna say this. You know, you got 6 weeks to do this, to substantial completion, okay? And you can't start this until this is substantially completed, which A, is gonna cost more money, and B, is gonna take more time. Because, you know, a lot of contractors just gonna wanna blow and go. They wanna tear this whole street up and blow and go. We're not gonna let them do that. That would be too much impact to the neighborhood. And so, it's a 6-month construction project, and I'm worried now, I mean, we're already to October. I mean, we literally have 4 months to finish the design and get it out on the streets. We don't want to put this out on the streets in June, because it's just a waste of time, because contractors, A, they're busy, we're gonna pay higher prices, and B, we don't have enough dry time.
They haven't.
This has to be constructed during the summertime. It has to be. I mean, we can design it to construct in the wintertime, but add about 30% of the cost.
Yeah. So I guess when would we be looking at, like, for the council to make a decision, or like what would that timeline
I'm
look
getting the
like?
impression tomorrow.
I think that's a true statement. I believe you've given us enough insight, and we've heard from the public. We'll go back and fine tune this a little bit, and we'll share it with the council. If you see something you don't like, let us know, and we could keep going through those iterations. But I think Cliff's right. We can go through and make a few changes. They're not gonna be substantial. I mean, what you see is gonna be really close, but we can make those changes, show you how we picked up some parking spots, and we'll share that with the council. Then we just need direction. You know, the other option you have is to tell us, change your standards. But then we're going backwards, because that'll take time for you to update your standards. And, you know, I realize this is all residential. I don't know why it's zoned commercial. I'm just a dumb engineer. I don't know why it's zoned commercial. But you don't want to build this if ultimately, as a residential neighborhood, if ultimately you think it's going to be commercial. I mean, that's just my opinion. And I don't know why it's commercial. That's none of my business. But we should build it to facilitate commercial development down the road, if that's really the city's true intent. If it's not, change the zoning back to residential. And, you know, I'm one of these guys, you get what you get from me. I mean, I don't sugarcoat it, and so if you don't like the commercial zone, change it to residential, we'll change the standard. Now, that's a
I appreciate
decision,
your candor.
that's a decision that if you were gonna make, we need that.
What would that take, Cliff?
It went commercial when the bakery bidded to go in.
That's kind of a
Bakery's the only commercial
question
property there, right? So,
Well,
for
this is
Curtis, but
commercial,
if
this is commercial,
go
this is
through back through
commercial,
planning.
this is
It's,
commercial.
it's a
the only
long
actual
process.
business.
Yeah, it's-
They're the only actual business though, correct?
This is an actual.
Nice try.
And this is a dentist.
I get that part.
If you decided to relook at this zoning, you're looking at 6 months. We're gonna stop this project for 6 months.
It's gonna have to go through the planning commission.
Gotta go through planning commission, gotta come to council.
Gotta have all
You gotta have
the
public hearings, public notice. I mean, it's a big, big deal. And I'm okay with that, if that's a decision you all wanna make. That's fine by me.
There's a whole lot of money spent on logistics.
I'm afraid
Yeah.
rezoning is not gonna address parking.
Well, if we
won't.
rezoned it, I don't see that changing the
No.
parking situation hardly at all.
No, it doesn't.
So I don't think that,
Well, these sidewalks would narrow, right?
right.
Those sidewalks would narrow.
So they're not gonna, if we rezone, it's not gonna produce a lot more spots. We're
No.
talking maybe 1, 2.
Sidewalks narrow, you still don't have another spot.
No, you don't, because we got the driveways and we already have parking here. So, Cliff's right, you're not gonna gain a whole lot.
Yeah, the commercial zone only comes down to D Street and goes up to A Street.
Yep. Okay, any other questions, Counselor?
This is Counselor Bowles.
Yes, go ahead, Stacy, go ahead.
If we were, if we were to rezone, with now the sidewalks, would it also make it so that there isn't an issue of when the residential properties go to resell their homes? Would it eliminate the issue that Manager Amber was talking about with that?
Yeah, it would. People could get commercial loans, or not commercial, I'm sorry, they could get conventional loans, thank you, on their housing through a bank. They would be eligible, and banks would be more inclined to do it.
That's a slippery
And then
slope.
that would also in turn reduce the size of the sidewalk, which would reduce the size of the easement that we would take by just a fraction. Is that correct?
No,
I don't think so.
No, because the right-of-way is already established, and the majority of this, we aren't taking anything.
it's just at the intersections we have minor takes.
I don't mind.
Okay.
You have to take out my tree.
But I just want to caution you, if you decide to go down the path of converting this back to residential, that's a slippery slope, because there may be people out here who say, no, I want my property commercial. Is that it? And so you now devalued my property because it's worth more as commercial than it is residential, and I don't know. You're going to get public.
This one or this one had to build to commercial standards. I don't remember which one a few years ago. Yeah. So we've already had people who have run into this problem and addressed it and built a house to commercial standards.
Well, if we rezone, what happens to the bakery?
It can be whatever it wants to be. It's a non-conforming use.
Okay, okay.
Today, is it?
No,
No, not today.
it's commercial.
But if you rezone it, it would be non-conforming, so if it caught on fire and half of it burned down, they couldn't rebuild, probably.
Well, not without a lot of goodwill on the part of the city council.
I just want you to know it's a lot of work to go through a zone change.
We just need to gain the best information we can to make an educated decision, and that's why I'm asking. And that's why I'm trying to bring it to the people who are gonna be impacted the most. I mean, ideally, if we did nothing, you'd be impacted. If we do something, you'd be impacted, so I need to know which way you want to be impacted the best.
I just have an important question. She just made a comment, not without goodwill from the city council. Does that mean that if my house were to burn down to nothing, that the city council could in fact issue me a special use permit to rebuild my home? Or was that a comment made in jest?
Just for the bakery.
It's a situation that is highly unlikely, but,
It happened on A Street, like you mentioned, though, so I am curious.
yeah. You know, you'd have to go through the whole process of being something that did not meet the zone and take it through the planning commission and everything else. There probably is a different thought process for the planning commission and for city council for a business that employs 50 people over a residence. I can't really say that for sure, but I have seen it in other places.
But again.
So the city values a business more than residents.
I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm not saying that. I'm just talking about the difficulties of zoning, rebuilding, being non-conforming, all of that. That's a whole different thing. Please don't understand that I'm saying we don't value residences, because we do.
That's how we have felt. You have the monkey puzzle in your yard.
So I want to throw
It's
in.
gonna get whacked.
Nick,
I
when
think
you
it
talk,
also has the honey
when you
fungus
talk about
disease like mine.
those that are impacted,
I think
we have to consider everybody down here.
I'm concerned with
everybody
people
down
that are
here.
here, though. I'm taking they
Right.
took the time, they're making the effort. I'm not dismissing anyone that is not here, but the impact, people are here now. I know other people who don't want it, that are not here, and I'm speaking up for them as well. But I'm just trying to hear as many voices as we can.
Yeah,
And people are here that have made the effort, I'm listening to as well.
Yeah.
I can't hear people who don't talk.
Well, that's why I'm talking. I'm saying there's 5,000 people in this community, and there's a lot of people that use this road all the time that are impacted by its condition. So doing nothing impacts.
I'm not saying we
lots of
should, but
people.
I'm bringing up the uncomfortable conversation that if we don't, there's either we do or we don't, and that's what it is. So we can dance around everything all we want, but it's either do or don't, so. And if it was my property, I don't know that I'd want that done either. But it's not, my decision is based on the whole, not just me.
Yeah.
So if we don't, the whole street falls apart.
Yep.
If we do, we continue to have a parking problem that we have right now.
Correct.
Nothing changes, only the street continues to deteriorate. If we do the project, we have a good street that should last 20 years.
Not with all the traffic.
And we still have.
We would design it and
buses.
build it. That's typically what we do.
That's why we are deteriorating. The traffic that has come onto that street.
It'll be designed for the new traffic.
Now, I do have one question about the rezoning thing. May I come up and point something out?
Sure.
So one thing that you guys mentioned was that we needed these 11-foot streets because it's commercial, it's being, all the compliances for commercial, but if this was rezoned as a residential, would these streets be able to just be a 6-foot sidewalk and us put in diagonal parking, not have these trees, get rid of this? If it has different standards, the bakery would win, we would win, there'd be more parking, it could all be updated. If this 5-foot extra strip could go away and you could add the diagonal parking like you've done here, look at how many more spots you'd
You see
fit.
that where the diagonal parking is here, you'd have to do a
Well,
right-of-way take.
right, but I'm looking here, I'm looking like, if we look
Okay, so you'd
here,
have to take the parking off on this side.
right, but if it was diagonal,
Diagonal where? Both sides?
yeah.
There's
why-
not enough room for that.
We couldn't do that?
There's not enough
Put
room.
enough on one side?
There's room for diagonal on one side, you could put, but it's silly because you're not, by the time you put these diagonal spaces in here, you can't put a space here because you can't use this driveway.
Yeah, well, that was my other question, was you guys were mentioning, what if we get rid of these? Well, if you get rid of these, I'm not allowed to have a 6-foot fence up to my street because I need to be able to see coming in and out. If we get rid of this and people can park here, how will I see in and out? So that's another concern,
Yeah.
but that's a personal thing, we can deal with that later. I was just trying to brainstorm. The goal here is that we all work together. I would like to get what I want, the bakery wants what they want as a community. You're right, there are a lot of people, there's 5,000 people in this town, but there's like 20 of us that are directly impacted, so I understand the will of the people versus the 20 that are impacted, but I appreciate you speaking up for us. The bakery's here, I'm here, they're here, there's a lot of people that are impacted. You walk the street, you're impacted. But it is, to me, my property is losing value because it's so much less useful with less parking. Maybe that's not true, that's my opinion, that doesn't impact you at all, it impacts me. Their business, way less beneficial to them if they don't have parking. So it's like, we have to find a win-win for everyone.
Question for you. This is your property, you don't have a driveway.
Correct.
You don't have any designated parking. We're
Correct.
giving you a driveway and we're designating parking out in front of your house.
Correct.
Doesn't this give you
Yes,
better situation?
yes
than
and
you have
no.
now?
Yes, it does give me a driveway, which I've already thanked you many times
Right.
for that. What it doesn't address is my special use is not the city's problem. I understand that. It is nice to be able to come home with a trailer. I'll have to park the trailer. I can work around these things. But this is a resident who is directly impacted by these things, and I think they should be brought up. Whether they are digested by you guys or not, I think it's important for me to at least have the say to say that I said something.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I think from where I'm at,
And we've come a long way.
Several
We've come a long way.
conversations.
Yeah.
I feel like this represents what we had talked about.
The only thing was seeing all the parking lots. This, I don't love this. This is better than just one space though, so
Right.
that's great. What I'm concerned about is, and maybe they don't need me to speak up for them, I don't work for them. I just feel like the issues we already have, this doesn't solve. I personally don't feel this solves any problem. They can speak for themselves, but as an advocate for parking on that street, I feel like we're going back in time a little bit.
The bottom line, for everybody to understand, in order to build this street, meet city standards and be ADA compliant, there's going to be compromises. You can't solve every problem out here. We're not even gonna come close to solving every problem, so.
Well, that's why I
meet
asked
city
about-
standards, to be ADA compliant, to build a new street, we have to make compromises. And that's why we're getting input. We want input so we can decide what compromises to bring forth to the council.
Yeah, well, and that was why I was asking, trying to find creative solutions to this problem that we're all facing.
Right.
So you're gonna be putting cars back to back, like this, at angles. Okay, you have it straight across, the cars go this way. These cars are parked all along here. Do you wanna know how many times these people back out and almost hit vehicles? And hey, they have, by the way, they have
All
definitely
of mine
hit.
have been hit, but that's irrelevant. They're
Yeah,
bad drivers.
so you're gonna do this.
They can't
You're
control their
creating
customers.
a, no, that's just it. That was
Okay,
something
okay.
that was said.
I'm sorry, but
Okay,
we're trying the best
Yep.
with all the, we're trying to make compromises, right? And
Yes.
so, we're never gonna make everybody happy, never. We'll do the best we can.
Just one other, just
Thank you.
simple question. We know that we talked about redoing the paving, the sidewalks. What about the ancient sewer system and water lines that are there? Are they being replaced?
The water lines are fairly new. They were replaced 8 or 10 years ago.
So I know there used to be semis that park on that street and it crushed some of the water lines and the sewer lines. So I'm
I
wondering if
don't
they're
know
going
about
to be
that, but
redone.
the water lines are fairly new. You can see the cuts in the road.
Okay.
That's new replaced water line. The sewer lines will be addressed with this project.
Okay, good.
It'll be
Is there
redone.
ancient-
And the storm.
And the storm,
Okay.
curb, gutter,
All right, that was my only other
all those
concern.
things.
Can I ask one question? You were talking about sharrows. I've seen them, but legally, do they do anything other than paint I mean, for instance, I ride a bike. If I'm riding the bike, is the car behind me forced to slow down to my speed?
Legally, you have the right to share that lane with the bike, yeah, with the car, yes.
Okay, so they would have to slow down.
Yeah, and,
Okay.
and wait for an opportunity to pass in the other lane. They'd have to wait for that opportunity.
But that's even without the sharrows. That's just.
Yeah, it is the
Is
same.
sharrows just a reminder of what
The
it's?
sharrows elevate the
awareness.
That doesn't
Okay.
change the driving law, it just adds an indicator that there may be a
Back
bump.
to the
Are there any other questions?
I'll say one
Kelly.
last question. So, what I'm hearing is that we have community members that want to provide feedback, right? And so can you talk a little bit about like future plans where they would be able to come and give feedback, ask questions, get more information, maybe look
Well-
at adjusted plans?
The questions we've had, one open house, we've had this. How many open houses do you want to have?
Well, that's a really good question.
I think the format that we have right now is probably the next one we would do. We would have West Tech do another reiteration, probably bring it back to a work session, make it open to the public, and probably go that
Would that
direction.
have notes from the bakery in it?
Before we come back to you, I want to sit down with the bakery on a
I
one-on-one.
just want to make sure.
I would like to sit down with the bakery on a one-on-one.
Very short question. Who makes the final determination? Do we as a city make this? Is it voted on, or are our opinions just our opinions and you guys as a group will make the final decision?
So we have a set of standards, public works design standards, street standards. Those were adopted by council. Those standards are what we build these plans off from. And so if these meet standards and they meet the use of all the folks as much as possible, that is essentially adopted by council because they adopted those standards.
Right.
Otherwise, we would have to come back every time we did any project and get their approval. So we could work off the standards that they approved. But it sounds like we're gonna come back, give them another look at it, and get signature from council saying, yeah, this is as good as we can do, have you folks look at it again. We're all gonna have to make some sort of a compromise to make it work. So I think we're probably gonna have this maybe one more time.
Councillor Holt, go ahead.
I just, hearing all the conversation, I understand the importance of moving this project along, but I also understand the importance of engaging the community. And I feel like there's quite a bit of conversation left. So I just want to throw it out there that I personally would not be opposed to a special work session if we needed a couple of work sessions to sort this out.
Okay, thank you for that input.
I have one comment.
Yes.
When we redo the iteration, and we come back and you work with the bakery, and we've listened to all the folks that are gonna be impacted, can't we just put this on the website and let folks view it? And have a lot more, longer open house, where if we have a meeting in a month and say we're saying, I'm not saying it's a month, but whenever that day is that we say yay or nay, put this sucker online and let people really go back and forth with it, and then we'll have enough, we should have, for the people who can't get down here.
Not a lot of us have computers.
Sure, he's on our side.
I know, I'm just saying.
Well, there's a lot, the website gets a lot of disrespect. I think it's really grown, and I think it's pretty effective, and there's a lot on there on the calendar. So if we can put the iteration on there and people can see who they're impacted and see what's happening, it would allow some conversations before coming to a long meeting and doing this again. We can have some conversations, or at least have some feedback before we even get here to the point. I'd like to gain more knowledge before we get to a point where we're sitting down.
I think ultimately, these people want to know that you've heard them.
You've definitely been heard. And there's people here that I know that reached out to me that aren't here, but I'm doing my job to hear from them as well. But I want to make sure that they're given every opportunity, because whether they like me or dislike me after this decision, I'm taking what I can, the best information I can get in front of me, and make the best decision I can at the time.
Lonzo?
Yeah, no, I just want to say yes, but please don't think that we're just going to make this decision because of what we think is best. Your voice matters. We're here, I'm here, I'm listening to you guys. That's why we're going to give direction for you guys to meet, to continue to work on this.
Hang on. Hang on, you don't just interrupt like you've done tonight, okay? I will acknowledge you. Council, do you have any other input? Any other questions? Wrap it up. Last comment.
Not everybody in the city that lives down that's impacted by this has computers. That's what I wanted to say. We don't go online.
We can probably run some water and that's too. Does that work?
Doesn't have the iron.
It's a cheaper version. It's a way to get the information to you guys, the impacted people out there. You guys can talk about it amongst yourselves. You can add other neighbors to it. It's a way that we're not here dancing all night long. You guys can really email us if you have to, your information and what you want to be done. And we can come to this knowing that I've heard from not just you guys, I've heard from more people. And then I know the best decision I can make for everybody.
Okay, council members, let's gather back together because we've covered it all. So Steve, you're going to be reaching out to the bakery.
Unless you need anything else from me, I can walk out the door maybe.
Oh, we're about all ready to walk out the door.
Go out the back door? Go out the back door.
So, question for Manager Amber, because we've done other road projects in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, we need to get that.
My understanding, and please correct me because I'm probably wrong, is that unless the council were to decide to actually change the zoning, we don't necessarily make a decision on when to proceed with the road. We've made that decision.
That's a good question.
It's in our transportation plan. We've made the decision. We make decisions about funding and some things like that. But this is a plan this has been in the plan for many years. We've got the drawings. Unless the council were to make a decision to stop or to change the zoning, we don't actually vote on putting the road in.
Or amend the transportation system plan.
Right, so just ask a clarification on what
Appreciate that.
action steps the council could take. But if we don't, then when discussions have been had, drawings have come back, the council says, looks good, then we move forward with it.
So technically.
That's just a question, that's just clarification on.
So the clarification
council's
is we put
process.
in the input, but ultimately the city is going to decide.
Well, the council did decide when they adopted a transportation system plan many years ago.
That doesn't mean that this can't be informed by people's opinions. And it doesn't mean that it can't be sensitive to people who live in the area. It is in the transportation system plan, which was adopted many years ago. It's also, we also have our design standards, and those are the two documents that staff uses to develop a proposal. But I think also there is place for input, and I think we can look at that. And I know that the last round, the last open house, there were areas that were circled in red and amended. So it is a process, it's evolving. I don't know if we can get to the place where all of the parking is solved, because there's simply too many cars in that area at any time. But we can at least maybe come to some kind of a compromise or some kind of an understanding about where this needs to go. And I think the project is a good project. I think it helps a big number of our population who are disabled. And maybe I'm overreacting, but when you have to pull a person out of the street because their wheelchair has fallen over, you don't forget that. And this will address a lot of those concerns. And it will make it so that they too can enjoy Creswell, and they too can go to the market. I mean, that's a very real issue right now. Also, there are lots of kids, and when you're on 2nd Street, everyone walks in the street because there aren't decent sidewalks. So we will improve the aspects of the city. What we won't be able to tackle to everyone's satisfaction is parking. But we're not tackling it now to people's satisfaction. It's a problem now, and it'll be a problem after.
Okay, so Councillor Holt, any last thoughts or questions?
No, I think I'm good, thank you.
Okay, well, I think with that, we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming.